This episode is brought to you in partnership with our friends at Airbnb. Your home might be worth more than you think. Find out how much by going to airbnb.co.uk/host.
Just a minute. Let me turn it up to make sure.
Oh, it's sharp. You don't even know how it's gonna for where it'll be for tomorrow's breakfast.
Folks, I'm here now with
13 wasted years, Mr. Speaker. I couldn't help but
It's
notice.
14.
It's 14 wasted
You're
years.
doing very camp, Keir Starmer, don't you?
yeah.
Go, oh, Mr. Speaker.
Oh.
Like you've got gossip and tongue-in-cheek. Oh, Mr. Speaker.
Have you heard?
here today in front of I don't know who it was.
You make him seem like he's in the Galactic Senate, like properly like, have you seen the Emperor's new Death Star? What
The
a
Trade
load of wasted
Federation.
money.
You're emperor.
No, the Death Star is...
We are building another one.
On Mustafar, there's going to be a
the Death Star.
there's going to be a really great
It's
thing
like
on Mustafar.
HS2.
Yeah.
They're like, another one? You blew it up. It cost
No,
millions.
this Death Star, it's going to be bigger.
No,
you can blow up 3 Alderaans in one day.
Yeah.
It's going to be great.
You will get to destroy it in half the time.
You know, Lord Vader has spoken to me.
Rory Sutherland is like, it doesn't make sense to destroy a planet in half the time. What they should really do is make it a more enjoyable experience.
Yeah, I'm quite perplexed about why the Prime Minister wants to blow up Alderaan again. You know, we remembered.
Kylo Ren, obviously very bombastic, very erratic, very much evoking.
Where's that ridiculous mask?
Yeah.
I really don't like the mask.
That was a general election, rest is politics, Star Wars mashup for you, just for this season. For our international listeners, people will know that there is a general election happening.
We never talked about Hawaiian shirt guy in Bad Boys 4 last week.
Yeah, so right.
Go check out our Bad Boys 4 review if you haven't already. Surprisingly solid film.
Nothing gets past James and I in a screening. And there's a point in Bad Boys 4 where, you know, it's like, we've got to team up, we've got to go.
There's a moment where all the characters have to go to a certain location and do a thing so that the thing
For
can
the
happen.
third act.
Third act action.
And it's Florida, so they have to use a seaplane to get there.
To
and
like the bayou
they're
or something.
Armed, they get to the bayou. They're armed to the teeth. And it's like, you've met all the characters in this movie by this point.
The side FBI characters, the bad guys, the good
people,
guys,
the double
family,
crossers,
the son.
It's all there. And then they have to catch a seaplane to land on the water, which is totally fine. But then what they do, there's just somebody, an old guy in a Hawaiian shirt flying the plane. They never address
him. Never. He even gets, looks like he might die beyond spoilers. Looks like he could have died beyond repair, but then he's in the back of shot, almost okay. I mean, George is just like, who's he?
Who's he?
Where's he come from?
Why couldn't they just have pretended that the bad boys were flying the plane?
And it's just so classic to have middle-aged white guy in Hawaiian shirt who owns plane, who's like, I'll fly you there.
Hi, Miami Seaplanes.
Yeah.
You want to go where? Okay.
You're like, we need to somehow get to the island. I can take you there.
Yeah, there's none of that.
Rusty old plane.
It does seem. It also seemed like a legitimate business plane, like an actual seaplane. So they turned up
I think
and
it's
were
like blown up at one point, but
We're-
I think he survived. But they never confirmed to the audience Hawaiian shirt helicopter guys.
They were
fine.
just hoping we didn't notice him. They realized after they'd written the scene that they needed someone to fly the plane.
Like, who the
Like,
hell's
who the
that
hell-
guy?
who's
Like in the
he?
film, we were just saying to each other, who is that guy?
Why is he there? And,
So cliche. So
yeah.
Bad Boys to just have a Hawaiian shirt guy.
And just to happily fly.
It is.
About 9 arms to the teeth.
It does feel like an
Law enforcement
80s,
people.
an 80s sort of
totally.
trope. Hawaiian shirt, white guy with
If it was
plane.
the 80s, he would have been killed
Yeah.
mercilessly.
He would have had some lines of dialogue that shown he has had a troubled past, but he was a good guy.
Yeah, he used to be on the bottle and he's put it away.
Yeah,
He
they're
lost
always
his-
drunk. They're always drunk at a bar with the straw shelter. And I don't know what film I'm evoking. It's just been everywhere.
You haven't flown there before? I'll take you.
Yeah.
It'll cost you though.
And it's like the official plane is like, there are no more flights to Fantasy Island.
Yeah.
It is locked due to the storm.
Fantasy Island.
Fantasy
Spits
Island.
in the bucket.
I've been there a load of times.
They say it can't be done. They say a lot of things.
Yeah.
They say I couldn't fly drunk. And they say divorce is only temporary.
And they're like, we're really going to go with this guy? We don't have a choice.
You don't have a choice.
That was that guy. You know this character.
Why enjoy the movie you're watching when you can enjoy the movie you've written in your head about a side character who has no lines?
Yeah, and then I'm just like not listening to anything in the movie because I'm just thinking about Hawaiian shirt.
Hawaiian
plane
shirt
guy.
man. There he is. In the movie.
Could be a crop duster plane. Could be a water plane.
Oh, yeah.
Could be a helicopter.
Or like
just small air capable
Rickety.
vehicle. Rickety.
Yeah.
Gaff tape on the side of the wing. You know, he's like securing it
or
in.
an animal transport plane in the 30s, like Indiana Jones. Like,
Yes.
it's a cattle. It transports cattle usually, but I'll take you
Something
there.
Indiana Jones would tip his hat down and have a nap in.
Yeah.
And then inevitably the Nazis come and he's like, we're in for a bumpy ride.
Wait a minute, no parachutes.
Yeah.
I mean, that's just a scene in
Indiana
Temple of
Jones,
Doom.
yeah.
We're evoking.
No more parachutes. Great moment.
Welcome to episode 132 of Pulp Kitchen. We reviewed Bad Boys Ride or Die last week, as well as Young Woman in the Sea and the Star Wars series The Acolyte, first few episodes of that. Thank you to everyone who, after we launched our Patreon last week, joined up, subscribed, started writing on the Discord. What a lovely community we have.
Yeah, guys, if you don't know, we launched a Patreon and we launched a new show, Double Take, a brand new Patreon exclusive show. You can go and see that in the link down below if you want to sign up and get access to that. We've also got other tiers where you can guarantee to get your email read today, and also our producer tier where we will thank you at the beginning of every show and end of every show. Aidan, Finn, our producers, thank you very much for your support. It really does mean the world to us.
I love you both. Thank you
and
so much.
thank you to everyone who joined. Honestly, it's been amazing. I think you and I had a little number in our head of what we thought within like the first week we could get, and it exceeded that, which is just brilliant. So thank you so much to everyone who's on that space. We're going to be posting more behind the scenes content on that feed, so please go and check it out. It's a very exciting time on Pulp Kitchen
What a
Patreon.
great time to be recording. Do you want to do some housekeeping about the Patreon
Well, yeah,
before we begin?
should we talk about what we did in Double Take?
And on Double Take this week, we covered many things. We covered the Beatles movies casting rumours, the bizarre film that ended up being one of the highest watched films on Netflix in the past year, the hot rodent trend, the Brad Pitt, George Clooney movie Wolves, the trailer for that, and much more.
Yeah, so go and check that out if you haven't already. It's great fun.
It's
today.
it's good. It is great. It's great fun. It's great fun.
And today we are going to be talking about new Richard Linklater film, Hitman, starring Dishy Glen Powell.
Oh, the dishiest dish in this.
Yeah.
I mean, they're all dishy, basically. There are
They're
two
all very
leads in
good
this.
looking.
It's a dish served hot,
yeah.
let me tell you that.
Absolutely.
Steamy.
Very steamy.
You know, like when you get like a basket of bao buns and you lift off the lid and you get hit with the steam? That's
The
what this movie...
glasses,
Whoa!
yeah,
Is that
steamy.
Hitman in there?
Bridgerton, hold my beer.
So James reviewed Hitman
7
beyond
months
6 months
ago.
ago.
Yeah.
Go check that out when we did...
This was just, by the way, I went in the most blind I've ever gone to a film with no poster, no trailer, no real synopsis. It's quite a hard film to describe, I think, in one sentence of like sort of tone and what it is. But really just went in with Richard Linklater, Glen Powell, and it came out as one of my favourite things from the London Film Festival in terms of just pure surprise. But I can't emphasise enough the effect of going into a film completely blind and watching it. It's very... I can't reiterate enough.
That's
It's
why
a
I
very
love the film
impactful
festival
thing.
for that reason. You're going the best time of day. Your mind's at its was clear early in the morning.
So if you want, you can check out that review from ages ago. But I've now rewatched it. George has seen it. We're going to be talking about it again.
Because now it's on Netflix. And James is also going to be talking briefly about...
Presumed Innocent, which is I managed to go to a press screening last night for this new Apple TV Plus series starring Jake Gyllenhaal. It's produced by J.J. Abrams and someone else I can't remember. It's got a really good cast, and I'm just going to briefly talk about that episode. Obviously, it's not an official review because I've only seen one, but just a thumbs up if you want to go and check that out.
And then, of course, emails and, of course, the sound game. Sound bites. I think we should call it sound bites. I think we should have a name. We keep calling it the sound game. What could we call it?
Sound bites.
The sound of
Sound
movies. The sound of sound flicks. Sound flicks.
Leave it with us.
Leave it with us. Or suggest. But I think maybe for now I'm going to call it sound bites. Should we crack? Should we crack
along?
Oh no! Before we do, I forgot to say this last week, and I'm not going to forget to say it this week. I was able to go to a nice screening a few weeks ago of Ripley. So I feel like every week we talk about Ripley on the show, and if you've been listening for a while now, you know that it's one of our favourite shows of the year that's so far on Netflix. If you haven't seen it, go and see it. The black and white Ripley adaptation.
One of the best things Netflix has made in a really long time, if I may say so. Sirens on our own.
Yes, with Andrew Scott and Dakota Fanning and Johnny Flynn. Really recommend it. We've talked about it at length, and we've talked about it in spoiler terms and sort of recaps, but... we were able to see it on the big screen. So every man put on the first 3 episodes, slightly trimmed down. They cut out sort of minor details to make it run as a cohesive 3, but it felt like you're watching a 3-part of a major movie. Because that series is so cinematic, it was great seeing it on the big
That's
screen.
how I watched it as well. When I watched it, I just let the episodes run through.
Yeah,
Couldn't
not
get
on the
enough.
big screen. But
No,
we'll let them run through. Absolutely, the continuity is just like, it's so addictive.
Yeah.
But it looked, first of all, looked fantastic on the big screen.
I bet it did.
And then we were lucky enough to have Andrew Scott join us, not join us, but join the audience on stage for a Q&A.
What did he look like? Was he smelling?
He was gorgeous.
Yeah.
He just looked cool. He looked like he'd been in the sun. I don't think he'd just come back from holiday, actually.
Of course he did.
He was really charming. He was, as you think, charming,
Effortless,
switched on.
downplayed, cool, smart.
Yeah, humble.
If you gave him an interesting question, he'd give you a really interesting answer.
He did, and he did give some interesting answers. It was really
He
sweet.
looks like the kind of guy who sat in row 5 of an empty theatre with the script, just really sort of deep in thought. And if you go, what about this intention? And he'd go, well, you know.
I think he's also like, you're like, where's Andrew? He's like, oh, he's out because he's lost in conversation with the tea lady or something. People are like, oh God, I got carried away there. See you in a bit. You know, he's just like, he's
They
a
need
friend
me.
to everyone.
They need
friend
me
to
on
everyone.
stage.
Anyway, but what I wanted to tell you, the takeaway from this was that we've talked a lot about, many great things about that show, the black and white, how stylish it is. But on the black and white, which has been, if there are some people who've been very resistant to the show, and that's been the biggest sticking point for a lot of people. They say they don't like the black and white, which is very bizarre to you and I.
Yeah, don't know.
But he actually said that was running through the entire show, that ambivalence about whether the black and white would work, and they actually shot it on both. It was interesting that black and white as a creative decision was still slightly uncertain throughout the production. They basically shot it on colour as well.
Like,
they decided to do both, like Tommy Wiseau shooting
We're
The
gonna shoot
Room
it
on
on
film and digital. But they had
strange.
2 monitors up on black and white, and then the colour wasn't like the Anthony Minghella film colour. It was like desaturated colour.
Yeah.
But they would have both, and it was only very later on that they would say, no, we're going to stick with the black and white, which I'm glad they did. But Andrew Scott said, it's a bold decision because he's there in, Amalfi or wherever it is,
Yeah.
with the beautiful blue sky.
So we said, he's like, you almost can't imagine sucking the colour out of that location.
well, that's it. And he's like, you're not using any of this. It's very bold.
Is it shot on film? Did they say?
No.
Okay,
Not shot
so
on
that
film.
makes it. It's still an undertaking to do both. And then, did they talk about how that worked camera-wise? Like, are they?
No,
Yeah.
because he just said they shot it. They shot it on both. They had 2 monitors up to check both, and they. It was incredibly long shooting, like 8 months, long days, and also he said that. What you don't
8
realize
months
is how
in
much.
Italy, you
No, I
poor
know.
thing.
But what you don't realize is how much of that show is on his face the entire
yeah.
time, and also not when he's on his own. No actors to bounce around, so he really had to think a lot about. He was saying that about to vary his expression, just do a good performance because he is the canvas. He's what the.
It also looks like it took a long time to shoot because it's purposefully in a way overshot in that the logistics of murder and hiding bodies and all of this, like every step of it meticulously shot.
Yeah.
So you're like, it's not like a film where you need to cut. It's every little movement, every bang of the head, every corner come round, everything that's left somewhere. That's part of the show's charm and all of the knotty details that are there.
And if you have seen it anyway, I noticed on rewatching it, I was like, oh, there's so many little details here that I didn't pick up the first time. My whole reading of Dickie's character in this interpretation is so different to my first viewing of it now.
I can't wait
there's
to
more
rewatch it.
happening with Johnny Flynn, and there's more happening with the lines of dialogue, and particularly with the sort of the way his conversations sort of end up with Tom.
And it was the first 3 you watched.
First 3, yeah.
Nice.
Anyway, I just thought I'd mention that because I know we talked about it a lot, but they actually did shoot it on both colour and black and white.
That is interesting.
Anyway.
I wonder if they shoot it on both or if they've got 2 reference monitors showing them how both are going to look.
But then what happens if they decided to shoot it on colour then?
So I think it's...
Because he made it sound like there was an
it's
option.
done the thing.
It was an
Wow.
option to
That's
have.
so interesting.
I mean, I'm no expert. So
Yeah.
let's wrap up this anecdote.
Because that
before we
costs
have
you
any
like
more
a lot of
questions.
money and it's like double the storage and double the... If you do two shots...
I don't
it's
know,
like a lot.
James. I just heard the anecdote and thought I'd make a good one.
Yeah,
Let's
it
go
is. It
on
is
with the
good.
review. This is a quick message brought to you in partnership with our friends at Airbnb.
So George, a good friend of mine who I used to work with in telly is going to work on a famous reality TV show in Marbella
Oh, right,
for
yeah.
2 one-week periods.
I think
in
I know
next
the one.
month. It's very exciting. She's very much looking forward to it. And I told her she should host her flat on Airbnb while she's away.
Yeah, brilliant. Of course.
Just makes sense. Like while you're working away,
Yeah.
set up on
course.
Airbnb, make a little bit of extra cash while you're there. Perfect. No brainer.
I know. And also like quite a nice feeling to have when you come back from an actual work trip to have a little bit of extra pocket money to put towards
The
your
next
actual
holiday.
holiday.
Yeah.
Like an actual holiday.
Absolutely.
Oh, very smart.
Yeah.
I think people forget that we've all stayed in Airbnbs. Like we've all done it, but I think we forget that the people who host Airbnbs are just people like us. Like,
Yeah,
you can do it yourself.
I've got a couple of holidays coming up, and I was looking at what other flats in my area are going for, and I thought I should just do this. It makes sense, especially if you do those little work trips. You go on these little breaks away. You go, hang on, I can host my flat on Airbnb. Boom, perfect.
Also, like your home is there.
Yeah.
Like, you're going to be away, but your home is still there. Like you might as well use it. If you have a home, you have an Airbnb.
Totally. If you haven't thought about it, you should look into it. And guys, your home might actually be worth more than you think. Find out how much by going to airbnb.co.uk/host.
The thing about Jake Gyllenhaal is that we talked about a few weeks ago is that he never won an Oscar, and we said that he should get a show that's full of like he should transition to TV to get a good plump role, maybe play a lawyer or something.
Yeah,
and
like in a Naughty Limited series. Here comes presumed innocent.
So
yeah, I reviewed Roadhouse, which I really wasn't that impressed with. I wasn't charmed by it either, and I thought Jake Gyllenhaal, who's an actor I think is really great, was just very like bored and boring in the film. I don't think the script did him any favors, but his delivery was very uninspiring. It didn't have what I imagine a Patrick Swayze charm would have had in the original. So I didn't really blame him, but I was like, oh, Jake, like, I'd like to see you back on form. Look, I've only seen one episode. It's funny, we go to these press screenings or these premieres even for TV shows, which I imagine is a very new phenomenon. As TV shows have bigger casts, bigger talent, bigger budgets, they want to do this like big press screening. And when you go and see a premiere for a film, you're getting the film and that's it. You've got, however long the film is to watch it. And with these TV shows, you're often given a number of episodes that have been smushed together, or sometimes they're not smushed together to form this premiere. And I'll be honest, like at a lot of these premieres, we were also a little bit going, I just want to watch one episode.
We only need to see one. Yeah.
Sometimes we kind of know that the show's not something we're gonna stick to, if I'm to be really honest. And sometimes we get given 2, sometimes 3 episodes.
It can be a real drag.
And it could just be a real drag because pacing is different. But in this show, we only got one. And it was of all the shows, the ones where I wanted to go, do you know what? I could have happily sat for another episode. So this is Presumed Innocent, starring Jake Gyllenhaal, with a character called Rusty Sabek, which sounds like it's straight out of Mad Max. You ask me. Rusty Sabek. The Jake Gyllenhaal plays Rusty Sabek, who is a lawyer. It also stars Renata Reinsve, who I've got a massive crush on, from Worst Person in the World. If you haven't seen that film, fantastic film. She's brilliant in that. Ruth Negga's in it. It's got Peter Sarsgaard, Bill Camp,
great
Elizabeth
cast.
Marvel, just loads of really good. This guy called O.T. Fan Benny, who I'm not sure if I've done the name very well. He was really good in another Apple TV show called We Crashed. Anyway, the plot of Presumed Innocent is Jake Gyllenhaal is married to his wife, Ruth Negga, and he gets a call to say that a lawyer who he works with very closely named Caroline has been found murdered. And Caroline, who's played by Renata Reinsve, was a very ruthless prosecutor. She put away lots of murderers and criminals who committed really violent crimes. And one of the people that she put away liked to kill people in a very specific way and tie them up in a very horrible way. And she was found dead, tied up in a similar way to a person she'd been prosecuted. The only thing is that the guy who she prosecuted has been in prison the entire time and therefore has an alibi, unless maybe he's paid someone on the outside to do the job for him, which is obviously very likely. So Jake Gyllenhaal originally is a lawyer who's been put on this case. But what this first episode slowly reveals to you is that him and Caroline had been having an affair on and off for a very long time. And his wife actually had known about this and they'd moved past it. But when the death is there, he immediately runs to the crime scene and he puts gloves on and goes and sees the body. So he was there at the crime scene, but in the house are, from the forensics team, DNA and fingerprints of Rusty's thing. So all of a sudden he was originally presumed innocent and has now been taken off the case. Peter Sarsgaard's now the lawyer who's taken it on, and he is now implicated in the murder for this series. It's very Gone Girl, noir-y, Fincher-esque. If you're into those kinds of things, this is the kind of show for you. Look, as I said, full review, not really, because I've just seen the first episode, but I can imagine cuddling up with a partner, watching this on a Sunday night, and at the end of every single episode going, ooh. So it's one of those. Surprisingly, so far, very solid. I hope it sticks the landing. I hope it maintains its quality of the first one.
And do you think, Jake, when you were watching it, did you think, yes, Jake, this is the role we need from you?
Yeah, it's nice. I wouldn't say it's like groundbreaking performance, but it's sort of back how I like to be seeing Jake Gyllenhaal. Everyone in this show's got a secret. Everyone's got a darker side. Everyone's hidden something. It's nice for all of that to be played out. You've got good actors, dissecting each other as lawyers. Like, good fun.
Good high production TV.
It's a very specific brand. Oh, it's set in the US is it Washington?
Washington, D.C.? Or?
Yeah, but don't hold me to that. I actually wasn't sure. There was no distinctive setting, but sort of like suburbia and sort of district attorney stuff. It's that very new brand of, especially from Apple, very expensive, well-cast, limited series, which is new because it's like it only has this one impact to make a splash. It's not trying to make money over 5-6 seasons. It's just... This is it. It's well shot. It's well produced. Hopefully, it's a good show. So if you're checking that out, I think it's out this week. You can check out Presumed Innocent. So Hitman, new film from Richard Linklater, who's a director that just you can't tell what he's going to do next.
Good
He's
for
done School of Rock, Before trilogy, Boyhood, like. Shops around
Days of
genres,
Confused.
yeah. Days of Confused.
Everybody wants some. And then he really does Slacker. He does history things. Yeah,
and if you know, you know. But if you don't, you're not like saying, "Oh, this is of course Richard Linklater film." He definitely does have a sort of tone to his films. But yeah, you know, close your eyes, you wouldn't really know it's him. This is Hitman, also co-written and produced by Glen Powell, who's the star who we know from Top Gun Maverick, Anyone But You. Kind of very much on the rise right now. Super hunky. So in Hitman, Glen Powell plays Gary, who is a Honda Civic driving, chino shorts with blue polo tucked in, slightly dorky haircut, big rimmed glasses. He works as a psychology and philosophy professor, and he very much sort of lectures on the identity of the self, so the idea of the identity of the self and illusions of personality. And he has very sort of banal existence. He's got 2 cats named Id and Ego, which is a funny Freud reference. And he lives a very boring life. But actually, to make a little bit of extra cash on the side, he moonlights as he's very technologically capable.
And very vaguely based on a true story.
Oh, yeah, I should say that this premise of a teacher assisting the FBI and getting caught into something, getting taken into the other side of the job is a true story. The rest of it, I think, is very much not
And the
true.
film's quite open about that,
It's very open. Like, towards the end, they go, we made that bit up, but here's the person that this whole film is based on, which is very funny. So Gary, he's very technological, and actually, to make a little bit of extra cash, he works part-time for the FBI, helping with the sort of sound technology assistance in vans, where they use undercover police to bust people. So someone will come in as an undercover cop, and they will record evidence of them speaking to someone, and then use that evidence to prosecute them. And he basically is part of that tech team. When one day, the guy who usually pretends to basically be hitmen, who have been found on the internet, where a member of the public is looking to hire someone to kill someone else, an FBI agent will pretend to be that hitman, record their conversation until they incriminate themselves. One day, the person who is meant to be doing that cannot do it for a reason, because they've had to take a break from the police force. And they say, look, Gary, you're gonna have to do this. We need you to do it. He's like, what? Me? I can't do it. What's the ID? And he gets given this briefing pack, and he has to pretend to be a hitman. And he's like, okay, I'm a hitman. And he does this first one, and he's brilliant at it. He brings out this new version of himself. He's menacing, and then it all goes very well, and he gets the prosecution, and his FBI teammates go, Jesus, Gary, you're really good at this. We'll get you on the next one. And so on goes this ever-evolving carousel of characters where he dresses up as these insane versions of himself that he thinks will get the person who's needs to be prosecuted to really believe that he's a hitman and to really sort of get this incrimination. When all of a sudden he decides to he finds a new persona of himself called Ron, and Ron is a much better looking, more confident, attractive, smarter version of himself. And he meets Madeline, who's played by Adria Arjona, and instead of prosecuting her, he actually tells her, look, I think you're making a mistake. Why don't you just take the money you were going to pay me and go find yourself a new life? Yeah. And of course, that doesn't quite happen, and this film twists and folds and goes on from there. It is what some parts of rom-com, comedy, thriller. Talia made a comment that she said there's something quite Shakespearean about the whole twist and turn of the plot in a sort of 12th Night or even like a Molière Tartuffe kind of way, where it's sort of farcical it goes. It's that's the film. It's out on Netflix. It sort of goes completely more crazy and unhinged, and the characters reveal themselves to be sort of more and more insane. George, what did you think of it?
Well, so when you're talking about that, I think it's interesting to contextualize it first with Linklater and Glen Powell. So with Linklater, it's really interesting. where it sits in within his body of work. And as you said, like he does sort of dips his fingers in lots of different pies, has tried lots of different films. And when I heard that he was doing like an action comedy kind of caper thing, I thought that doesn't sound like a Linklater film on the face of it.
No.
But he tries different things. And it's quite funny that from the guy who made School of Rock, which is about a man having to disguise himself as a teacher, this is about a teacher having to sort of disguise themselves in reverse. Like with Linklater's work, he brings a kind of soft, easy vibe, kind of relaxed approach to this that is a slightly relaxed, quizzical look at things. Like,
It's very easy to sink into this film, I think.
Yeah, and it reminded me a lot of one of Linklater's films called Bernie, which came out in the early 2010s, like 2011, with Jack Black and with Matthew McConaughey and Shirley MacLaine, which is similar again, based off of a true story, and is very, very specifically set in like Texas, and is very much about like Texas culture and the kind of weird regional curiosities of that. And you kind of get that with this. It's like set in New Orleans, and there's a lot of playful references to the names of the streets, which are called like Desire and Pride.
Oh yes,
and
as he's
and
learning about
Pleasance.
identity, these two things in different directions, which are leading him certain ways.
Which is what New Orleans is like, and it's quite nice to have that regional specificity. And you obviously have Glen Powell as well, like just using this as a star vehicle, which is great. Co-wrote it with and Linklater and Powell. Obviously, they worked together on Everybody Wants Some, which is the first time I saw Glen Powell actually, and they've obviously stayed in touch. So he produces it and they wrote it together.
And it's Glen Powell really flexing his muscles.
Absolutely,
as an actor,
and that's really
seeing
nice
him
to
just
see.
Be not just the I'm the smarmy rom-com lead or the action hero. Like you can let me do a bunch of different things, and he's funny and he's brilliant and interesting.
I think that's really great to see, and he's really charming. On the whole, though, I was hugely underwhelmed by this film.
No,
hugely underwhelmed, James. I'm so sorry, and I'm really happy that you had a great time with it.
Yeah.
And I don't doubt that you had a great time.
Yeah.
But for me, I think it's probably a case of overhype. I mean, obviously, seeing across from you,
and also
pouring praise at it.
I got less from it seeing it at home than I did in the cinema and the film festival audience.
Well, I'll get on to with seeing it with an audience, but on in general with your praise and other people's praise online, I was expecting something that I really didn't get. Sadly, I don't have any major beef with the film. I don't really hate its existence, but I just really left me quite cold. What I find interesting is that a lot of people are saying it's one of the funniest films of the year, or they find it really funny. I didn't find it funny at all. I don't know, a couple of chuckles here and there, but I genuinely was thinking, where are the jokes that if I saw this in a cinema, that the audience would rip along and laugh at? It's not just that I'm not finding these jokes funny. I found it quite jokeless and joke-free. And then I thought, okay, well, maybe it's not much of a comedy.
Max. In my screening, it was like laughing.
I genuinely don't know where people would have found it funny. A couple of giggles here and there, maybe with like the odd costume bit, but like a lot of it, I was just thinking, I mean, honestly, there was one point where I thought, am I actually watching the same film that James saw at the festival?
How interesting.
I watched it with my girlfriend Anna, and look, we were in a great frame of mind. Admittedly, we had to watch on Netflix, but like we'd been at a spa that weekend. We were happy. We had some chocolate mousse. We were ready to watch it. And I just felt quite baffled and a bit bemused as the kind of thing meandered along and sort of flirted with different genre tropes. And I if you flipped it, another person could argue that that's what Linklater's doing brilliantly. He's invoking lots of different things. He doesn't want to be too much of like a conventional crime caper. It's not trying to be too much of a rom-com. It's blending these things together. I get that. I think they have great chemistry. There's definitely like a sexiness to the movie. But I was bored.
How interesting, because I look at that film and I go, that is exactly what the doctor ordered for that genre, especially living on a streamer, considering the types of other films that come out and I think just don't capture attention, or they feel lazy. And that film is, you could describe it as sleepy, but in a way that I think is very approachable and easy to jump into. And I'm like, I think that type of film is just what that straight to streamer film has been wanting.
And just
its charm and its lightness has just been fun. It doesn't take itself too seriously. It's completely unhinged, and the decisions of the characters are insane. But at that point, I'm like, this is just so much fun.
I thought the last scene was terrible.
I think at the very end, it gets ridiculous to the point where it just has to end. Yeah. But the scene before that, I thought was so much fun when they have to pretend to have a certain conversation.
Oh yeah, that was probably the standout scene for me.
That was just so brilliant, and I was laughing.
Brings
and the chemistry between them was great.
Totally.
Again, it's like ridiculous, but the double crossing with Jasper. I just was on the edge of my seat, loved it. But it's so interesting that you.
But I will say on the Discord, some people talk about Hitman and they agree with me actually. So a lot of people on the Discord from our Patreon are saying underwhelmed, wasn't quite nice, but really
did losing something not being seen. Because Richard Linklater, I think, has made comments saying, "I really want people to go and see it in the cinema." It's very difficult to say.
All films should be seen in the cinema.
Yeah, it's very difficult to say when you've also agreed to distribute it on Netflix. So
not an original Netflix film though. It's just been picked up by them. But
being distributed by Netflix, you can't have your cake and eat it by saying, okay, well, Netflix is going to host it, but also please go and see it in cinema. And it's got a very limited cinema release.
I'm glad it's been like the #1 hit film on Netflix, and I agree that
I think it's got 97 on Rotten Tomatoes, which is high. Which is also early for Rotten Tomatoes.
But I genuinely don't understand what I would have gained by seeing it with an audience, because I don't see there to be jokes.
So I felt like this time I watched it at home, it was less impactful because I wasn't having fun with the audience at the craziness of it.
But I didn't even find it that crazy. I really did find it quite tame, quite low temperature. And it kind of ended, Anna and I were like, Anna made this point, she was like, just a bit random, wasn't it? And I was like, well, it was a bit random. It just sort of happened. Just this film just sort of happened in front of me. And I sort of went, okay, well, yeah, good for you. Nice to see Glen Powell around. Never bought him being the transformation, because he doesn't look like a college professor. He looks like a hitman.
He looks way too attractive to be that role already. Yeah.
In a way, I love Linklater as a director, but I kind of thought, I actually almost would have preferred a different director to grasp this and get more juice out of it, like a Doug Liman or someone to really. The Doug Liman directed the Roadhouse thing, actually, bizarrely. I just now think about it. But
Siren's on our end.
But look, I know.
I think it goes from this sort of tame city film.
I've not barely thought about it.
Fine, okay. So, but I loved how the reintroduction of Jasper's character, without spoiling it too much, and that moment, that turning point when he sees them in that ice cream parlor. And the way they play off each other, I was like, this is just brilliant. It's going completely unhinged.
I think I was lost by that point. I really think I was I really just found it pretty, pedestrian, plodding, lost. So by the time we got to the Jasper stuff, I was like,
I've probably overhyped it.
I think so.
I really think it's a film for cinema with a crowd.
I'd love to hear people's thoughts.
Yeah, please write in.
Because I think on that.
For the other films that we're getting of that genre, which is, I know it's kind of a mixture of genres, that film, I think it's exactly what I've been wanting to get from low stakes, easy in, rom-com, funny thriller films.
In a way, it's kind of damning with faint praise. A lot of people on our Discord said it actually seems fitting for it to be on Netflix. It kind of fits the Netflix low stakes, easy access, flick it on kind of thing. But I have a feeling, I worry with a film like this, it's just, even though I said I wasn't a huge fan of it, it's just going to disappear into the sea of Netflix.
I told you, I said this on Double Take, but I had this moment where it released on the Friday and I went to go and check Netflix on the Friday and Hitman was nowhere to be seen, which is interesting. And I think if you're a filmmaker and you go on your platform where it's meant to be distributed and your film is not there, that's like going to a Blockbuster, seeing all the new releases, your film not being there, having to ask the guy in the back if the film is there, and him going, maybe let me go and check. Yeah, it is here. Blows dust off and hands it to you. It then did come on later and it was like number 3 in the top 10, but I almost think like it is a problem if films are going to get lost in the shuffle on the service. I'm sure now it's in the top because it would have come out and people are seeing it, but I'm a little bit like these things are getting lost somehow.
So let us know your thoughts, guys, on Hitman, because we are split on it, and I would love to know if it's been a hit or miss with you, if some people have been able to catch it at the cinema, if it's worked for them better, or if it's still worked for them at home. But that was Hitman. We'll get on with your emails now. Should we do that? Let's do it.
George, should we go through some of the emails that we get sent into the show every single week? As always, guys, if you want to send in your reviews, your thoughts, your questions, your concerns, you can send them into hello@pulpkitchenpodcast.com. Or if you support us at the VIP level on Patreon, you can get your email guaranteed to be read out on the show, assuming that it's like relevant to films and stuff. Just like Saf did. Saf writes into the show and says, I've been in a bit of a rom-com phase lately, rewatching and ranking my favorites of all time. Recently watched But I'm a Cheerleader and Punch Drunk Cheerleader.
No, But I'm a Cheerleader.
But I'm a Cheerleader and Punch Drunk Love. Use some capital stuff, come on. They both went straight to my top 10. I wondered if you guys have some favorites or maybe even some recommendations of the best rom-coms you've ever seen. And I welcome all the cheesy tropes. George, rom-coms, your favorites?
Hard. What I will just say is But I'm a Cheerleader is really good. Underrated gem. It's It's quite got a serious subject, which is a girl gets sent to gay conversion therapy camp in America, but it's got Natasha Lyonne in it, and RuPaul's in it. But it's super colourful, super camp, super playful, and really, really funny and weird. And it's like a kind of cult classic, and I really rate it.
Yeah.
But in terms of just rom-coms in general, I mean, we always talk. I mean, the obvious was When Harry Met Sally.
Yeah, to me, When Harry Met Sally is right at the top of that. In terms of like dialogue and emotional gut punch. And there's something about seeing people having time pass and seeing people live a life and have something that was lost or neglected or not.
Oh, yeah.
It really just gets you. Notting Hill, I love. Really feels quintessentially British.
Yes.
I haven't seen it in a long time though.
Well,
Horses and
good
Hound.
romantic. Because I'm thinking like before films are romantic, but they're not rom-coms.
No, they're just pure romance.
What's a good rom-com? I think that my mind always jumps to that. And then some people go further back and they say, like,
How to Lose a Guy in 10 Days. I love that film. It's so much fun. Kate Hudson, brilliant in it. You've not seen it, have you?
No.
Oh, it's great.
No.
You should see it. It's really, really good.
One of the leaning ones where he's leaning.
Yeah. It's one of the
The biggest leans.
It's one of the bigger
If you were
leans.
to draw the isosceles triangle that he makes,
you can see that they're leaning there.
Oh yeah.
Iconic golden dress on Kate Hudson in the poster of that film. 10 Things I Hate About You.
Oh
Great.
yes, I'd say 10 Things. That's a great
really,
one.
really good.
She's the man. But yeah, 10 Things. I'd say 10 Things up there with the other two. But the thing is, When Harry Met Sally is such a good rom-com because it's about relationships and it's actually about that stuff. It's not just being playful with it. It's actually like
It has
talking
something to
about
say.
it. It's got discussions. It's a think piece. And
It feels like
looks
it's
gorgeous.
not just for teenagers. It's for people who've,
Yes,
lived,
for
people who've
adults.
lived a life. Yeah.
Their ages.
I reckon that film is better when you're in your 50s than if you're in your 20s.
Ooh, gets better with time.
Yeah,
Because
age is like a fine wine.
Thank you very much, Sav, for that. And as you said before, on Patreon, if you subscribe to the VIP tier, you can get your email read out as a priority. Moving on to a super siren, a very good friend of the show, Alice Bandakravi, who we met at the BBC when we recorded that pilot a few weeks ago. We talked about that on the show as well. Alice was the presenter we met there. Fantastic to hear from you, Alice. Alice says, Alice, your super siren here. First time emailer, but as you know, I waxed lyrical about you to your faces. Massive fan of your work. Thank you for the shout out a few weeks ago. Here's just a couple of things. Firstly, George, Ari the Goodbye Girl starring Richard Dreyfuss. Discussing it with you made me revisit the movie, which I hadn't seen since I was 12 years old. Watching it now has made me appreciate how great it is and has made me realise how much of it went over my head. What with it being a child and all that. It's a fairly grown-up film about relationships. Oh, what am I talking about? Sorry, that's a great rom-com. As Alice is going to say, and I've said many times, it's a really great, underseen romantic comedy from the 1970s, The Goodbye Girl. Anyway, Alice goes on to say, it's a fairly grown-up film about relationships, the loss of trust, and learning to love again. The Shakespeare sequences only now make sense to me, along with a lot of fast-paced dialogue. Basically, there's a subplot that he's an actor. He's putting on what sort of is turning out to be the worst production of Richard III that there has ever been. Stay with me, James.
I'm listening.
I know, you just looked a bit vague.
I'm listening.
I know,
in the
I'm
mid-distance.
sorry, I'm just teasing. The Shakespeare sequence only made sense to me, along with a lot of fast-paced dialogue. We watched it on repeat as a family in the 80s and 90s because we had it on video, VHS. It made me wonder about three things. Now that collecting hard copies of movies is a thing of the past for most people, have family movies, i.e. films that you watch together as a family over and over again, disappeared? If so, I think it's a sad thing because that joint experience of quoting the film and watching it endlessly is part of our family history. Do you want to
I worry about
first?
that too, about everyone having
Yes.
their own private screen. It's more convenient for everyone to have their own screen in their room at home versus when the only screen was the TV downstairs.
Yes.
Even if you didn't want to watch something, you were stuck watching something with the whole family. And even with my sister, like we used to argue all the time about what to put on the TV. So it ended up being this like middling compromise, but regardless, we both watched it together.
Yeah.
And that effect, I don't really know what teenagers and kids and how that all changes, but the centerpiece TV, sounds really lame talking about like different pieces of tech, but like the centerpiece TV has lost its it lost its power, lost its sense of urgency, as everyone has their personalized, let's be honest, like feed of TikTok and Instagram that's just there.
When that main screen was your main screen time, you would therefore be drawn to it regardless
I
of
think
kind
there's
of what
very
was
few
on.
moments now, very few films or TV shows or Christmas specials where I think the family all comes together.
Especially when you've got so if you don't have the dusty VHS or even the DVD kicking around, you go, put that on. We've got it on DVD because there's nowhere. Otherwise, what's my alternative? I have to go drive somewhere and buy them.
Yeah. Also it then becomes very intentionalized family time. We're going to sit down and watch this versus accidentally stumbling upon this thing that's on. I'm being a bit sort of sad there, but yeah, I mean, like we used to always watch Mary Poppins and Chitty Bang Bang, like James Bond films. I used to always watch because we had them, and if they were on TV, we'd always watch them. My dad would tape them on VHS and we'd play them over and over again. Home Alone 3, Hook.
I always remember when you used to record the things on VHS. Then you get it out and you put it in, and we had something like sticky labels.
Yes,
you then
and
put
you would
over.
then- and
You'd write the new thing.
We had a cupboard under our stairs, just completely stacked with taped VHSs, and you'd go in there and you'd see like Mission Impossible, loads of James Bond films that I would just run through, and they were often taped like it was the Channel 4 screening or the ITV screening. So like if you had a 2.5 hour film that was like a 4-hour tape, and you'd have to go up to the TV and fast forward the ads. And I'd remember the ads that were playing during that film. And Cool also Runnings I used to tape all the time.
And if you watched a film you hadn't watched in a while, you'd see all the old adverts from like 4 years ago. And
it was a weird little time capsule of like the cars that were out and the other things.
That is special. That is something that has been lost. So good question.
Have you seen Cool Runnings?
Never.
Oh,
Big blind spot of mine.
Yeah, I really like Cool Runnings.
Next question from Alice is, what other films form part of your family histories and have they stood the test of time? Well, you've just kind of touched upon that with Bond and stuff.
Sorry, I answered your question.
No, but I mean, for me, I always just think about Christmas. It comes to mind because that's when you're sitting down and that's when you get out the copies. So
everyone's engaged. No one's got somewhere to be.
If you take pre-digital world, like that's why we would always watch The Grinch because we had it on DVD and we always really enjoyed it and we would always get it out. But I think... I would, that's what I would probably say, The Goodbye Girl and The Grinch. And then lastly, Alice says, would you consider doing an episode about great films made in the 70s? Well, yes, at some point. We definitely intend to. We intend over the course of some period of time to work our way through the decades.
We did the best of the 2010s, and the intention is that as and when we do our editorials, we will cycle back through the 20th century when we get the chance. So we're going to do the noughties and then we'll go to the 90s and so on. I don't know how far we'll get depending on like, I'll have to cross that bridge when I get to it in terms of how much value we can offer in terms of talking about it. Or we can talk about the films and that impact of that decade and more. It would probably have to be a bit more planned. But yes, 70s, 100%, we'll get there. And
Alice just signs off with the passing comment, the fact that they made a remake of The Goodbye Girl in 2004 with Jeff Daniels. But don't watch that. Watch the 1977 original. Yours in continued admiration, Alice of the Beeb, London, W1A, Kiss
Alice,
Kiss.
Thank you so much. Sent from your Beeb email, which I very much appreciate.
I love that. Reporter and presenter, BBC London TV. Thank you so much. It's great to hear from
you. And thank you again for the tour of the BBC. That was really fun.
I know,
really
great?
Fun. Is it Alan?
No, we're going to do Emmy and then Maria.
Emmy writes into the show and says, hi, James and George. I loved the question about seasonal films from last week.
Yes.
Talked all about, someone asked about spring film. No.
Yes, they had summer movies and they said, do you have them for the rest of the season? We came up with more summer and winter
and then we
autumn.
Struggled with spring.
Spring was, and we put a shout out.
Maybe it's harder it has a fewer visual distinctive features. But then we said afterwards, maybe the Sound of Music
was one we said,
Emmy says, I love the question about seasonal films. I also think of films in this way. And in fact, I had my yearly craving to rewatch Death in Venice, which is a classic late spring, early summer film for me. In answer to your question, films that feel like spring to me. Annie Hall, New York in a nice light jacket weather, rainy rather than sweaty dog day afternoon summer. Amelie.
Dog day afternoon,
summer heat, sorry. Amelie, joyful Paris spring energy.
Yes, although I always thought Amelie was like winter, autumn. I thought it was like...
I get autumn.
I get autumn, the accordion with like brown leaves.
It's a brown tone.
It's a brown, it's a sepia.
It's a brown. Most Merchant Ivory films feel like spring, but especially Howard's End. And is it still autumn? No, it's spring, yeah.
I've never seen it.
Howard's End spring, and then what's the other one?
Remains of the Day?
Yeah, Remains of the Day, I think is springy as well.
Oh, we must take the air. The weather's warming.
Lots of bluebells, boating, linen. 4 Weddings and a Funeral, apart from the funeral, which is solid winter. Always would be. Pathetic fallacy. Notting Hill, London springtime park stuff. Yeah, could be.
It's hard to know because they have that massive montage. That great scene.
Oh, yeah, because he walks through the seasons. But outside of that, it's not winter because he's often out in a shirt in London, so it must be this part of the year.
Yeah, but it doesn't look like raging summer either, because she's there in a leather jacket.
So arguably
I would say it's May. I would say not to get a set May, so that's spring, yeah.
All of the Austen films, Emma, Sense and Sensibility, have that bouncing springy thing going on.
Yes, when you're walking through like a field in June.
To take your hand.
Spring, I'd say. Yeah. High spring.
Yeah. Oh, what just came to me, the importance of being earnest.
Oh, right, yes.
Yeah.
Take tea outside.
Yes. The crumpets.
The wasps have started to come out. Yes. But it's not summer season. You're not going on holiday yet.
Yes. Sound of Music, which we said, Rolling Hills singing. Breakfast at Tiffany's, Audrey Hepburn eating a croissant and take-out coffee outside Tiffany's equals classic spring. Congrats on the Patreon. Wishing you every success with the new chapter in Pulp K.
Emmy, thank you very much for those emails, for those suggestions. That's good ones. And Maria similarly has written in about springtime emails. Maria says, "Hello, lads. I'm a fairly new follower to the podcast. Started listening since episode 123, where you reviewed Ripley. I must say that I'm thoroughly loving your podcast." Oh, thank you very much.
Thank you.
On last week's episode, you spoke briefly about movies that are representative of specific seasons. When it comes to the seasons, I feel that films generally tend to focus more on winter and fall.
Yeah.
Perhaps it has to do with the holidays that are celebrated during that time of year. The themes that can be explored: bleakness, loss, death, hardship, and the general color scheme of black, silver, grays, oranges, and browns that can be achieved for the purposes of cinematography.
They look good as well.
Yeah, they do. Very sort of atmospheric. On the flip side, one season that is sorely underrepresented is spring. Your discussion got me thinking about some of the films that I would personally associate with springtime. And if you're wondering what I would consider a spring movie, here's a simple breakdown. Movies set or seemingly set in the spring. Movies containing heavy depictions of flowers, nature, fields, and animals. And 3, movies that are about fresh stars, birth, rebirth, or new beginnings. With that said, the following is my shortlist of springtime movies. Marie Antoinette, for its heavy use of floral and garden imagery, as well as its delicious use of pastel colours all throughout. Peter Rabbit, for the obvious fact a rabbit, an animal heavily associated with the spring, sneaks into a farmer's vegetable garden.
Winnie the Pooh.
That's a very logical way of thinking about it.
Yeah.
Yeah, and Winnie the Pooh as well.
The
Just
fauna.
like going out to the woods. Yeah.
Yeah.
Eat, Pray, Love, for the fact that Julia Roberts' character goes through a journey of rebirth and self-discovery after a difficult divorce. So that's a thematic approach to it.
Spring,
I would love to hear what some of your springtime movies are. Well, we've just had them
It's
covered
more
in Emmy's
complex.
Bible.
It's more.
Yes.
There's a different quality to commenting on what maketh a spring film.
I think it's also because if in your head it's like spring, which goes from March to June, that's quite a range of different, like...
Don't know what the weather's going to be like.
Yeah, you don't know what, especially not at the moment.
No.
But summer, hot, winter, cold, autumn, brown,
Yeah.
fall, leaves.
Summer film. High School Musical 2. Straight in there with summer.
Thank you, Maria.
Next in, Alan writes in from saying, "The Acolyte and other thoughts, guys. We reviewed the first 4 episodes of Star Wars Acolyte last week. And just before I get into that, the sentiment online about The Acolyte is even sort of worse than I think we were reviewing
Harsher
it.
than
People
you
are
said.
not liking it at all. It's a lot of it's getting clipped and compared to great Star Wars moments, and yeah, it's not getting a good run. Alan says, "Hey guys, lads, boys, chaps, gents, fellas. Hope all is well. I really appreciate what you two have been doing on the show. As a person who just started getting into TV, movies, and films in his mid-30s over the last couple of years, your insights and analysis have been really helpful, especially in affirming ideas about certain films I'd have myself over the years. Your differing opinions have always been really helpful in challenging the way I think about what directors and writers are trying to put on the screen. I found you via
TikTok.
earlier this year and will never look back. I wanted to come in
Nice.
to echo your thoughts on the new Star Wars show, The Acolyte, from your June 5th episode. Yeah, from your June 5th episode.
joking.
Your Honor, from the June 5th episode, I watched the 2-episode premiere the night before the pod came out and found myself thinking the exact same as you. It just looked cheap and uncinematic. It really came off like a CW show circa 2005 or so. The sets don't look lived in. The costumes look like they'd never been worn before.
Exactly what we said.
Exactly what we said. And everything sort of gave me the just mailed it in vibe. This is doubly disappointing as the showrunner, Leslie Headland, gave a number of interviews saying she'd fallen in love with the greater Star Wars canon and lore. So I was very excited to get lost in an era we've never seen before in a show made by a filmmaker who really cared and poured everything into it. I will, of course, finish it as I'm all the way addicted to Star Wars canon and will hope I'm pleasantly surprised as it goes on, but my hopes are not high. Cheers from Perth and Boston, Alan." I want to
Alan.
sort of copy a comment that an actor and voice actor named Sam Witwer said. He's a massive Star Wars fan. He voices Darth Maul in the Clone Wars, and the Darth Maul story in the Clone Wars is like a really well told and fleshed out thing, and he's just a brilliant voice actor. He also played Starkiller in the Force Awakens games that came out on the PS3 and the 360. Anyway, he adores Star Wars, and he commented about sort of new Star Wars shows, and he's very sort of fairly critical and diplomatic in his criticism, because I think he's very much part of like the new Star Wars stuff that's being made. But what he said was that even the prequels, which get a lot of hate, and rightfully so, people have a lot to say critically about the prequels. He said even the prequels thematically feel that, or they are bang on for what Star Wars is, right? Outside of all the criticism, like the themes and the leading into what we know as Star Wars is really tight and true to what that is. And he says, unfortunately, these new shows don't have that. They don't feel thematically Star Wars. You can't just have quippy jokes and whipping around space. You need to have something that thematically links to the very core of what makes like the mythology and the understanding of the Force and the diet. Again, we've only seen half the show, but he's like, I don't get that from this.
Because obviously the prequels were tethered to fitting the narrative, to joining it up to the original trilogy.
And also like made by George Lucas, who is the source of it all. Again, I'm not writing off the prequels in this sort of like, 20 years on, get to say they were amazing. They're not. But there's something different even now about those films compared to what we're getting now, which doesn't feel like true to the soul of what Star Wars is. Again, that's not my thought. Those are from Sam Witwer, but I thought that's a very interesting analysis of what's going on here.
Aidan has also written in about the future of Star Wars, and he says, hello lads, first time emailer and long time listener. I always recommend your podcast to other film enthusiasts. Thank you, and really appreciate the variety of films and shows you review. Keep up the good work. Let me just start this email off and say Star Wars was my whole childhood and more.
Same.
I always found comfort in Star Wars and have very fond memories of it. I just watched your review on The Acolyte and thought you were too generous about it.
Yeah.
These new Star Wars shows are beyond terrible and have no redeeming qualities about them. I could never imagine myself in years to come giving a rewatch of most of these shows, except for maybe the first season of Mandalorian and Andor.
I thought season 2 of Mandalorian.
Yeah, I
was
thought
better than
those
season 1.
first two were good. The latest trilogy wasn't great, but it made up for it with great acting and amazing CGI, lots of nostalgia, and it just felt like Star Wars. Yeah, I would say that the new trilogy did kind of feel like Star Wars, even though these shows don't.
Yeah.
11-year-old me...
Force Awakens really felt like Star Wars.
11-year-old me used to daydream of what the scope and how big Star Wars could be, and I imagined it looking like the new Dune movies, not a CW show with Jack Black in it and Lizzo in them.
Yeah.
My mates always say I'm overreacting, but I feel that the legacy of Star Wars is diminishing, and I fear that it's already been tainted. It just feels like we're going backwards and still stuck in the Skywalker era. A mini-series in a new era was not the way to get us out of the Skywalker era. I mean, I agree with James that the more Star Wars produced, the less it means, and then it just doesn't look right. The Jedi robes and the set designs, it all looks cheap. Fights that look too choreographed and the acting is stiff. It just feels like there was no passion behind the camera. I am not at all interested in a follow-up Rey trilogy, and I truly believe that Disney has no idea what they're doing. They're just winging it and hoping for money with no concerns of the fans or legacy. I wish Disney would give it an 8 to 10 year break and make us miss it again and start to crave for it. A completely new start. A new hope. I just wanted your opinion on how you would fix it and what you would want from Star Wars in the future.
How we'd fix it is a very big thing. Hold on. So firstly, yeah, I totally think what you said is bang on. The only reason they stopped making films and they've rested the films is because The Rise of Skywalker was such a fucking cock up and it ruined the appetite for the films. And I think they shouldn't have made 5 films in 5 years, which is what they did. They should have really spaced it out. You didn't need to release Rogue One when you released Rogue One. I think Rogue One's great, but you could have put that out at any time. You could have rested the trilogy. Siren's on our end.
Yeah.
You could have put Rogue One out this year.
Yeah.
It didn't need to come out at any time. It's an isolated story that doesn't...
Yeah.
Anyway,
because also it did... I mean, on a low level, it sort of confused the audience a bit as well. You just
cast a Rey lookalike.
Crystallized what... Re-crystallized to everyone what Star Wars meant.
Yeah.
And then you add in a separate proproperty that go, yeah, but that's not related. I remember you telling me your mum was like, oh, is so Han Solo in this one? And you're like, no, Mum, no, these aren't the stormtroopers on the First Order. These are the original stormtroopers. Anyway.
Yeah, my harsh way to fix Star Wars is you cut off basically almost everything that's been done. So I would...
Or retcon.
Yeah, so you keep 4, 5, 6... You remake the prequels.
Oh yeah, well
right?
yeah, this is
you go
radical.
You basically get everything made after 1985 doesn't count. you just wipe the slate clean. You Men in Black just erase it.
Yeah.
You go, we're gonna retell the fall of the Jedi and the rise of Darth Vader and the rise of the Empire properly. No offense, I have a lot of love for the prequels, but if you want to do this properly, that's the Star Wars. The 4, 5, 6 is Star Wars in media res. It's like look at this Star Wars, whereas 1, 2, 3 really is the story of Star Wars and how it happened. You have to do that properly and you have to do it again. And then you can go forward after 6. And then the TV show, I don't know what you do with TV shows. It's actually quite a head game. I need a chalkboard.
Oh my
go
God. I like the idea of a break. I like the idea of, but then Disney's gonna be like, we can't stop making Marvel films and stop making Disney films.
They bought Star Wars for like $4 billion, which is nothing. That's nothing. They made that back in 2 films. How is it valued so low?
So low.
Very good.
Thank you.
Do you know what I mean? I would have gone Star Wars. You're talking 10, 15 billion, please. Yeah. Who sold it for?
Who moved a decimal point in the wrong
money?
area?
Yeah. Like, because you go, okay, well, how many films can you make that are going to gross over $1 billion in a 15 to 20 year time frame? Many.
And isn't Force Awakens still like one of the highest grossing movies of all time?
And that's not talking about the toys and the bedspreads.
Yeah.
I just don't get why it was valued at $4 billion. I know it was like mostly dormant.
I do wonder if like 10 years on, we were talking about this recently, but like 10 years on from Disney buying Star Wars, are people who are the age we were 10 years ago, as excited by Star Wars as we were 10 years ago.
No, we talked about this on Double Take when we talked about celebrating the 25th anniversary of The Phantom Menace, and we talked about how the excitement and the buzz when Revenge of the Sith came out, and we were the perfect age. We were like 10 years old, 11 years old, and that was just like as cool as it could be. We had the sticker book. Everyone was like seeing it. Sirens on our end. Sorry, guys. Jeez, London. I remember just thinking like, oh my God, everyone was talking about it. What's a General Grievous? Who's going to kill who? Can't wait for it.
Anyway,
but yeah, no, I don't even think Star Wars Acolyte serves putting it on for your kid on Saturday morning as a replacement for their cartoons. It doesn't. No. Again, I will finish it. I have to wait now for episode 5 to come out before I can jump back in. But shame. Love the Star Wars. What's next? Johanna writes in and says, Furiosa thoughts. Guys, we reviewed Furiosa 2 weeks ago. Go and check out that review if you haven't already. I wanted to chime in about Furiosa Mad Max saga. Post-apocalyptic stories are one of my favourite genres of cinema, with The Book of Eli, The Silo, and Waterworld being some of my faves.
Wow.
I recently rewatched Fury Road after listening to the What Went Wrong podcast and was fascinated by the unbelievable struggle it was to get that film over the line. I love behind the scenes almost as much as I do watching actual films. Yeah, me too. An interesting fact to know that the scripts for Fury Road and Furiosa were written at the same time, with producers opting to pay for the more simplified story, and George Miller gave the whole cast of Fury Road the Furiosa script to read to enable them to flesh out their backstories and the world. That's really interesting.
That is cool.
I love the idea of people planning things.
Yes.
And having like intention and going, yeah, this is where this thing's heading and this is how it happened. Like Breaking Bad, they were like, here's a shot in season 1 that's going to come up in season 5.
Yeah.
God, simple steps. Charlize Theron and George asked George Miller if they could make Furiosa first, as she loved the script as she loved the script but wasn't to be. So the idea Furiosa was a cash grab for Mad Max fans isn't true. Theron was also gutted that she aged out of being able to play younger Furiosa. Overall, I really enjoyed the movie. The costume designs were elite. The whole world feels real and desperate and dirty. The visceral disgust that the close, cool young Furiosa has with Immortan Joe's noncery son, brother, ew. Yeah. I have to disagree with, just like I said, there's loads of really dark moments, which especially on paper read a lot worse than they did on screen.
Yeah.
I remember that moment, and of course I acknowledged it as being gross at the time, but there's something about Mad Max gets away with a playful mid-tone that it doesn't gross you out.
I think that's actually one of the greatest strengths of the films. It's able to evoke all that darkness without being...
not draining you. It doesn't,
or just stopping the narrative dead with this kind of sudden bleak to
like, oh God, we went there to like... It didn't affect me as much as it could have done. Not in the way that the film doesn't work in that sense. I'm like, yeah, we went there. I had to disagree with the previous siren, with a siren emoji, who said he didn't feel any connection until the final scene with F and Chris Hemsworth, who, by the way, is fantastic as the charismatic baddie. Yeah. But the unspoken relationship between Furiosa and Praetorian Drac was electric.
Yeah, I thought so.
And is also now top vote for couple's Halloween costume.
Oh,
great
that's
shout.
a great... Wouldn't you have to... Has she got a buzz cut by that point, though?
Yeah.
No, she doesn't have a buzz cut.
She not?
No, she doesn't have a buzz cut by that point. So you could pull that
do
off.
it.
Yeah, you could do that.
Get the leather out.
Oh, yeah.
Paint the top half.
All that leather I have.
Oh, all the oil. Who knew gas truck got
no one likes a cigarette near you. Halloween.
You look like Ghost Rider. Who knew truck drivers could be so sexy? I totally agree with you that the CGI of this film felt off and distractingly cheap, whereas Fury Road, they filmed way more practical stunts. I thought so too. I imagine maybe they couldn't get the insurance or pass health and safety anymore, as War Boys very nearly died during shooting of the Fury Road pole scenes. I'm not surprised. I am not surprised that they strapped people to poles and swung them around like trucks. It's insane that they did that, but also amazing. I want to know how they did the parachute sequence. The
parasailer. Yeah.
One bit of CGI that was undetectable, however, was the fact...
Sorry, I'd hate to be the high-vis wearing, clipboard holding, health and safety guy to walk up to George Miller, who in my head, George Miller looks like Immortan Joe.
Yeah.
And be like, Hi, Mr. Miller. I'm afraid we're not going to be able to do that stuff. We're going to have to do it in the studio.
What did you say?
He's got his producers with like nipple clips.
Yeah.
I say we can't film it out here.
Yeah.
CGI. Sorry.
Yeah, no, it'd be terrible to be. You'd have to be a team of them.
Filling out the clipboard and the pencil.
The risk assessment is like a fucking. It's like War and Peace.
Someone's dragging it along. Anyway, sorry.
Undetectable. One bit of CGI that was undetectable, however, was the fact that they use AI to mesh together Anya Taylor-Joy and the young actress who played Little Furiosa.
Yes, I saw they put her face on the young one, which worked quite well.
Which I don't know how to feel about that. On the one hand, this method will forever solve any casting continuity between younger and older versions of the same character. But on the other hand, I couldn't help feel for this amazing little actress who literally held the main role for the film for the first hour, whose real face would never be seen. As an actor myself, I would be annoyed to perform and then have someone else's face superimposed over the performance. So throwing out the question to you guys, how do you feel about AI being used for character creation? Loving the pod. Keep up the work. Keep up the Lord's work, lads. Sirens on my end. Johanna, sirens are on our end at the moment, guys.
Definitely. And thank you, Johanna, friend of the show. I would just say that, I mean, part of me very, very cynically wants to be like, them's the breaks. That's the role. Look at the guy who played the other Winklevoss twin in The Social Network. Everyone remembers Armie Hammer, but there was another actor, Josh somebody, I think, who they put Armie Hammer's face on and like, them's the breaks. That's, that's the gig.
We remember in Captain Marvel, they did Samuel L. Jackson well. I thought when they did...
that's de-aging, but it's still the same actor.
I mean, yeah, it depends what we want to call it. AI, actually. It's quite a vague term when we're using like computer intelligence.
I'm happy. I love when they de-age an actor. I find that.
Or like, cause I thought when they brought Tarkin back for Rogue One, they used it just enough where it wasn't too bad, and they often shot his reflection in the Death Star window. Yeah, I was like, you've just about gotten away with this, but it's a little bit weird.
But they could have easily. I think in another world they would have used. They could have got Charles Dance to do that role, Grand Moff Tarkin in Rogue One.
Yeah. Great casting there. Great piece. Charles Dance is so imperial.
Hello, I want to try to do this.
Lord Vader, release him.
The Death Star. Tyrion, I'm on the toilet.
Yeah. Great shout for casting. Johanna, thank you so much.
Thank you so much. And our last email for this week is from Romina, who writes in with a hot take. Hello from Rome. My boyfriend Ben recently introduced me to the podcast, and I must say, as a film buff, you guys truly know your stuff.
Thank you, Ben.
An absolute delight to
cool
listen
last
to.
name, Ben.
Thank you, Ben. Yeah, you do. That's like a superhero name. Thank you, Ben, and hello, Romina. So I just wanted to say hello as a new and dedicated fan. I recently showed Ben the movie Point Break. I mean, a very divided opinion about it. I think the film is an absolute must-watch for action films. He, on the other hand, thought the movie was ridiculous, full of cheesy one-liners and only made for women to drool over hot surfer dudes in California. I wanted to know your take on it. In your opinion, what other Keanu Reeves movies are there that deserve a watch as well? Take care and have a lovely day, Romina.
I've not seen it since I was about 9.
Yeah.
And it needs a rewatch for me to comment on it.
Same. I remember thinking that the love interest stuff was pretty underwritten and pretty bad, pretty hammy. But I do love the charm of Swayze. Yeah. You know, and also I don't think this is much of a spoiler, but the bit that's always stood in my mind very vividly is the fact that at one point Keanu Reeves has to jump out of a plane without a parachute. Yeah. And with the gun, and he's about to do it. And he's like, he just jumps. That's cool.
Mental.
And in terms of other Keanu Reeves films, Speed
is really good fun.
I've never seen any of the Bill and Ted films.
No, me neither.
I can't believe they made a third one, but I think it came out right during COVID happened, so just...
can't go wrong with The Matrix.
Yes, obviously The Matrix.
Bram Stoker's Dracula is his best performance.
Is his best performance?
Yeah.
Bram Stoker's Dracula,
No, it's
said with a heavy dose of irony.
The worst acting performances ever, but we don't blame Keanu Reeves. I think about Keanu Reeves now.
I liked him as Duke Kaboom in Toy Story 4.
Yeah, sure. Yeah, he's big John Wick now. Are they doing more of them? They got another one to do.
I thought they were done.
Is that it?
Or maybe the next one's the last
another one.
Or why not?
Yeah,
just get him out. Welcome on the show anytime, Keanu. Those were all the emails we had today. Thank you very much to everyone who wrote those in. We love hearing from you. Thank you so much.
Just a bit of housekeeping before we move on. Thank you to everyone who's been joining our Patreon and suggesting things in the Patreon for things we want to do. I know that people want to combine RSS feeds. So if, for example, you listen to your podcast on Spotify, you don't want to have to go into a separate app. I am looking into it. As far as I'm aware on Patreon, that is a feature that is available for audio posts only. And as you know, we film all of these episodes because that's kind of what we do and how we want to grow the show. Leave it with me. I am aware you want to do it and I'm going to try and get it. I don't want to have to do do a separate audio-only post that is going to duplicate on our feed for people who aren't subscribed to our Patreon, if that makes sense. So, yes, I'm aware of it. We will do it. Leave it with me. In the meantime, though, if you have the Patreon app, when you play episodes of Double Take or ad-free episodes of this show, you can just lock your phone and listen to it if you don't want to have the video up. For example, if you're driving or if you're operating heavy machinery, you can just do that. So leave it with me. I will get back to you. I hear you. Yeah.
Let's finish with a couple of sound bites.
Let's do it. Grandma Tarkin is like the Dominic Cummings figure of the Death Star.
Well, you need to realize. No, that's who's that?
Oh, God, I don't know.
I lost it. Let's get on with the sound game. So, James, I've got some sounds for you today.
do it.
I have quite a few, but some of them I think are very easy. I have a feeling, with a bit of luck, you could get all of these.
Okay. All right, pressure's on now.
So, I'm going to turn it up. As ever, guys, I'm going to play James a snippet, a soundbite, a clip from a movie, and you have to guess what that movie is. I'm going to try and play it to you twice. If you get it, give a moment's pause so the audience can have time to listen.
Okay.
And then reveal it to me.
Have you done like sound levels are all good, they're loud enough?
I've turned
maxed
boost up. Should be all great.
Fantastic.
Okay, guys. James, are you ready?
Yes.
Guess the movie from the sound.
Pepper. 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 Waiter, there is too much pepper on my paprikash.
I thought for a second they were battle droids, but they're not. It's
Oh, I can hear that.
Yeah, yes. Data, there's too much pepper. I don't think I know.
One more time?
Yeah, one more time, please.
Pepper. 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 Waiter, there is too much pepper on my paprikash.
It's a film you've mentioned today. Oh, fuck. So I thought, oh my God, it's going to be on the top of his mind.
Why is it too much pepper on my paprikash? I don't think I have it.
This
no.
is not how these people talk for the rest of the film.
No. I can see they're doing it a bit.
That is, shall I tell you?
Yeah.
That is a clip from When Harry Met Sally.
Oh,
it is the scene about halfway through the film when Harry and Sally are friends and they go to what I think is the Metropolitan Museum of Art, and they're stood in front of the giant glass canopy, and they're being very playful with each other, and he says, repeat after me, all day we are going to talk like this. Pepper, pepper. And it ends with him saying in the funny voice, would you like to go for dinner with me this evening? And it's just a moment where them as friends, he's just actually venturing to ask her out, actually. And she says, "Oh, I can't actually. I've got a date tonight." And it's like, "Oh, okay, cool." And it's like this just missed opportunity where he almost reached out. And I heard Billy Crystal talking about that recently. And Rob Reiner says, "Yeah, in this moment, you're completely in love with her, and you want this to happen." Yeah. So I thought you'd get that.
Nice, yeah, great moment.
Are you ready for your next sound?
Yes, ready.
Guess the movie from the sound.
Would you like something to eat? Something to nibble? Apricots soaked in honey.
There's, of course, from Notting Hill.
Yes.
He's just fumbling around his fridge, looking at random things. She's over. Yeah, great.
The unmistakable charm of Hugh Grant
like
there.
something to eat?
Would you,
apricots. Just random
dipped
thing.
in honey.
Dipped in
honey. And then he goes on to say something like, I don't know why, they dipped in honey, because then they just taste like honey. If you wanted apricots, you could just get apricots. And she's just there with her $1 million smile, just sort of looking
just
at him.
Just loving watching him fumble around. I love that house in Notting Hill, the interiors even.
Oh, God, yeah.
Stunning.
Yeah,
like sort of old style, but like chic and lots of natural light, big windows.
The little house with the blue door. You must come with me.
Yeah.
When he spills the orange juice. Yeah, it's like three
A
stories.
thin townhouse with a gorgeous banister.
And a
with
roof
bedrooms.
terrace.
Sorry, and he runs a bookshop.
A travel bookshop.
Please.
Yeah, in central London.
Like, that house is easily worth...
$2 million.
It's probably 4 flats now.
Yeah.
But
Yeah,
it's 2. I was going to say 5-6 million.
Yeah, sorry. Wait,
Notting Hill, yeah.
But like running a failing travel bookshop by the looks of it, which has shoplifters coming in, there's no way he can pull that off.
So pre-Amazon.
Is this a comedy? Yeah, it's comedy. Okay, James, are you ready for your next sound?
Yes.
Guess the movie from the sound.
I'm just a happy camper, rocking and a rolling.
Rocking and rolling. It's not like The Vacation or something. Go again.
It's a very famous actor.
Yeah.
I'm just a happy camper, rocking and a rolling.
Camper rocking and rolling. Give me a clue.
You should have seen it. It came out in our lifetime, which is in the last 20, 30 years. This actor, we love this actor. He can do no wrong. He doesn't talk like this for the whole film. It's just a moment where he speaks like this.
A lot of your clips are like that. Go one more time, please.
I'm just a happy camper. Rocking and a rolling.
It's not Jim Carrey.
No.
No, go on.
This is a scene, I think it might be towards the final scene of the film American Psycho, and that is Christian Bale. And this particular moment is a clip, a quote I love, because he...
Which part is that from?
So it's towards the end of the film
know.
where he is completely frazzled and uncertain of his reality about what has happened, who's real, what happened to Paul Allen. We thought we knew. His whole perception of what's
Doesn't
happening
sound like Christian Bale at all to
Oh,
me.
really? Oh, I thought a little
no.
bit. But he is sat with his, Wall Street friends. He's completely, the Wall Street on there. He's completely sweating.
Yeah.
And there's Reagan on the TV talking.
Yeah.
And Justin Theroux says to him, all right, Bateman, what are you so zany about? And he's like, I'm just a happy camper, rocking and a rolling.
Yes,
And
yeah.
everyone's just like, you're really crazy. But he's actually like
Manic.
falling apart on the inside. He's covered in sweat.
But still holding the facade of
Totally.
melting down.
There's
Yeah,
actually
great.
like lots of good clips from him that I wanted to include, but I just thought that was one. Okay, James, are you ready?
See,
for
he does a lot of weird stuff with his
Yes.
voice. It's all unhinged, and
There's-
he's playing a role within a role, which I think works for this game.
There was actually another clip I wanted to include, but audio, it's not quite as funny, but visually when you see it, there's a bit where Willem Dafoe says to him, when was the last time you saw Paul Allen? And he is completely deadpan. No, he's completely deadpan, Christian Bale. And he goes, we went to see a musical called Oh, Africa, Brave Africa. It was a laugh riot. And it's just one of my favorite Christian Bale performances.
Yeah.
Just perfect. James, are you ready for your next
ready
sound?
For the next sound.
Guess the movie from the sound.
You do know Elvis is dead, right? No, Elvis is not dead. He just went home.
It's from Men in Black.
Yeah.
It's one of your favorite. What is
Yeah,
your favorite?
That's the
quotes?
best line in the movie, yeah.
It's a lovely little inference of the world of like expanding the world of Men in Black. Like, Men in Black has that really great sense of we've all seen really strange looking people before where we go, that's not a human being. Someone who served you in a shop, somebody who gives you your passport at the passport
It's
office. It's just that weird clerical person who's like hunched over and you're like, that's such a strange human.
Yeah,
And then Men in Black really plays on that by having these weird people who walk around who are just obviously aliens in a very bad disguise.
The only good Men in Black film, but a good, solid banger, I still think, that movie. Really great.
We did a Film Bites with Benedict Townsend, who put it as like one of the best 90s films, as like
Yeah.
a perfect script that has no fat on the bone.
I still think one of the best song tie-ins to a
Yeah,
movie.
I bet, yeah.
Iconic.
Men in Black.
That was Men in Black. Well done, James.
That's why you hire Will Smith in the 90s. You get a song with it.
He's Mr. MIB.
Just gets it all in there.
They call him MIB.
Wild Wild West.
Are you ready for your next
Yes.
sound?
Yes.
Guess the movie from the sound.
The fuck is this? Obviously, you're not a golfer.
That is. Hold on. That is. The Big Lebowski.
It is. Well
Yes.
done. So the unmistakable
Distinctive
voice there
Jeff
of
Bridges there, yeah.
It's one of my favourite lines there.
Trixie.
It's just there, and obviously anyone knows the Big Lebowski. Bowling is a huge
Yes,
part,
huge.
a huge plot point of that movie. And he gets home, and his apartment's being raided by these thugs, and
Yeah,
he just
I
sits
remember
there
the
as they
scene.
ransack his place.
I've only seen
And
that once.
Oh right, and the thug gets out the ball and this bowling ball and just looks and says, "What the fuck is this?" He said, "Obviously you're not a golfer." Anyway, that's it. But well remembered. That one's a
Nice.
good one.
Jeff
I've seen
Bridges.
Lebowski probably about 4 times. It's been a while. I went to a Big Lebowski themed club night in Brighton one time.
Oh, nice.
And,
Everyone wear like big cardigans.
I went as one of the nihilists who were based off of Kraftwerk. So me and the
right,
mates
yeah.
went in the red shirt to the thing.
Fun.
Someone went as a severed toe, which is related to that. It was a good night.
That's fun.
Good
Nice.
night. James, are you ready for your next sound?
Yes.
Guess the
Oh,
movie.
Sorry, also, they famously reference the Big Lebowski in Avengers Endgame when they're looking at Thor
Yes,
being drunk,
that's
which is funny
funny.
because that's played by Jeff Bridges, who played
Yes.
Obadiah Stane in
yeah.
Iron Man 1, which therefore means that Jeff Bridges exists but is different.
And they also reference Hot Tub Time Machine. And you know who's in Hot Tub Time Machine? Sebastian Stan, the Winter Soldier.
Yes. Yeah. Sorry.
Anyway, are you ready for your next sound?
I am.
Guess the movie from the sound.
And nobody bonks me on the head with a baguette.
One more time, please.
And nobody bonks me on the head with a baguette.
Said by an actor you we like,
Yeah.
in a film we like.
Yeah. France.
No, not France.
One more time, please.
And nobody bonks me on the head with a baguette.
I don't think I have it. No, go on.
That is the voice of Brendan Gleeson as Knuckles McGinty in Paddington 2. When he has lifted Paddington up, he says, "Nobody spills condiments on my apron. Nobody does this."
That's
and nobody...
Bonks me on the head with a baguette.
Yeah,
And
it's very Paddington.
And then he
delivery.
says, "I'll change the menu, all right. I'll change first dish of the day, bear pie." And he scrabbles and he puts the marmalade sandwich in his mouth and he likes marmalade.
Cute.
Anyway, that was
Nice.
I like that little moment. I've also always remembered it like baguette.
Yeah, like that.
I think of one whenever I eat a baguette. Moving on. Guess the movie from The Sound. Are you ready, James?
Yes.
Here we go.
Do you find me sadistic?
I think this is iconic. One more time.
Yeah, one more time, please.
Do you find me sadistic?
You don't see the person who's speaking. One more time.
One more time. Oh, Kill Bill.
Yes.
Kill Bill.
Do you find me sadistic?
Of course, yeah. Yes, that was it was the
said-
text of the line that the quote I knew.
Yeah.
And then the audio, I was thinking like Silence of the Lambs, no, and then it's like
Isn't it
something-
funny how without visuals, our mind can overthink of something and overimagine and pull you in a different direction. So you see, it's in black and white, you see his footsteps, and then we see the close-up of Uma Thurman's face.
Yes,
and he
her
says,
face against the
"Do you
thing.
find me
Oh,
sadistic?"
sadistic,
And he
yeah.
says, "Right about now, I can fry an egg on your head." And there's the whole opening. Great opening. Tarantino often
So
does
good.
great opening scenes, but that was just
Brilliant.
fantastic. Two more, James.
Yes, let's do it.
Are you ready? Guess the movie from The Sound. I think you'll get this immediately.
Yeah.
Did you get that at home?
Great scene from the wonderfully great scene from best scene
The best
of the
scene.
film for all the wonderfully unhinged men.
Yeah. Alex Garland's movie
Calling,
Men.
shouting into the abandoned railway tunnel.
Jesse Buckley, this sort of hypnotic reverberation
And then
through
the
this
sort of
in the
Kinnear
distance, this sort of figure then
fumbling
emerges.
out.
It's
Horrifying. Go on YouTube that scene if you haven't seen it. It's great.
One more time.
One more time. Yeah.
Brilliantly sort of choral, folksy.
Yeah.
Is that set in spring?
Oh, most likely because there's like a horror of nature there. Must be. I can't.
It's
say,
not
couldn't
autumn.
say
It's,
no.
more, it's brighter than that. Isn't
She
it?
she wears a coat, but it's not like done
Specific
up.
to yes.
It's not like it's cold.
Yeah.
And the flower, he shoots the flowers in the valley where she
Yes,
walks, and it is flowery.
that's right.
So spring
be
makes
there.
sense.
Flawed movie, but has good moments of
Yeah, the
horror.
ending is just sort of completely out of it. But you could finish it and go, "This is interesting. It's pointed. It's. I think the drama's good. The scares are good.
Yeah, the scare. That's as a horror film. It's
As a horror
serviceable.
film, it really it does work, and it's scary. Many moments in the house running around, I was genuinely
yeah.
uncomfortable and just couldn't
Yeah.
even bear to watch
It's
it.
also the unhinged sort of chino wearing gammon, like traditional conservative
Yeah.
person who shows her into the B&B who's like, she's like, "Oh, I found some apples," and he's like, "Not scrumping, I hope." Yes, ruddy cheeked.
I'd like to see Alex Garland do stripped back horror. I think it'd work really well for him.
Yeah, don't overthink it, Alex.
No,
Don't put all these
just-
ideas in it. That film did not need to be called Men.
No.
It makes it sound like it's a statement, but it's not.
Yeah, no, I agree.
Are you ready for your last sound?
Yes.
Guess the movie from The Sound.
You know what they're looking at? What? Us. The LAPD.
One more
I
time.
need to hear that again.
I'm going to just boost it up a little bit for you. Would you like that?
Yeah, please.
Would you like that?
Sort of music over the dialogue there.
You know what they're looking at? What? Us. The LAPD.
It's not like Blade Runner or
No.
God, it's hard to get the dialogue.
I was thinking you'd catch the actor's voice.
It's hard to hear the actor. Can I hear it one more time?
Yeah, sure.
You know what they're looking at? What? Us. The LAPD.
It's not Drive or something?
No. Obviously set in Los Angeles. Think of what's being said. What kind of genre would that put that in?
I hear it very well. It's like cops and LA. One more time.
One more time. I'm going to lift this up a bit, see if that helps you.
Yeah.
You know what they're looking at? What? Us. The LAPD.
No, I've not got it.
That is a really great scene in Michael Mann's Heat. That is the voice of
Al Pacino.
Al Pacino.
Oh.
You know what they're looking at? So this is a great scene where obviously people who know Heat.
I've not seen Heat since I was young, and I'm meaning to rewatch.
So that's.
it.
I thought the voice of Al Pacino, him saying LAPD, might pull you out. So
the clues were good there. I could have figured that out.
great scene where obviously it's a cat and mouse between him chasing down Robert De Niro's bank heist crew.
Nice.
And they get a tip off, or they get tricked into going to this shipyard area,
Yeah,
and
I
all the
remember
police
seeing
crew
it.
go, and they arrive, and they get out of their cars, and they're looking for something, and then the penny drops at Al Pacino, and he says, "Oh, this crew are good. You know what they're looking at?" And they say, "What? You know what they're looking at? Us, the LAPD. We just got made." And it zooms out, and you see that Robert De Niro and his crew are looking down at Al Pacino's crew, and they've been able to see entirely how many men he has in his operation. They've completely won that moment. It's great.
I really want to rewatch Heat. It's a big time commitment. It's like, is it 3 hours?
It's 3 hours, but it's great.
I need to, maybe for a plane actually, I'll queue it on an iPad and watch it because I really want to rewatch
Do
it.
you feel that loses something though?
Probably.
reducing
I'm
it?
just thinking about practically watching a 3 hour film
true,
without
true.
distractions. Always, yes. But no, yeah, great movie.
I love that moment. You know what they're looking at? Us.
Us.
The LAPD.
What
Police Department.
Look at us.
It's very different from when he used to be in Godfather Part 2 when he would talk like this.
His mouth is smaller.
My father. Then he goes,
He
whoa.
uses his throat now.
I swallowed a cigar 20 years ago.
He used to use his head. Now he uses his throat.
He sneezed once.
Throat.
His nose.
Head,
Yeah,
head,
my
throat.
father.
Stomach.
Father. Head, shoulders, knees, toes. What do you got?
What do you got?
There are loads of more famous moments from Heat that I could have used, like the Hank Azaria moment, but I'm not going to. James, those were the sounds for this week.
Loved it.
I hope you enjoyed them. I hope you enjoyed them at home as well.
Very good fun.
That brings us to the end of episode 132 of this episode of Pulp Kitchen.
Guys, thank you so much for listening to this episode. Don't forget, we post new episodes of this show every single Wednesday.
Please continue to follow us on social media and give us your support, and sign up to Patreon. We have loads of stuff going out there, guys. We don't want you to miss out. It's a great space to chat with other sirens and get
Launched a brand
exclusive
new
content.
show.
Yeah, absolutely.
Double Take.
Get on
Every
Double
single week,
Take.
we're doing a brand new show, which is me and George sitting down, more unfiltered, more fun. We're talking more about news, trailers, casting, things that we don't have time to necessarily unpack on the show. That's what Double Take is.
Great
To
times.
Also get this entire show ad-free. So if you want to just get the show, no ads, go and check that out as well. You can even get a tier to get your emails read out on the show. You can even get a tier where you're going to get thanked at the end of every show, just like Aiden and Finn.
Yeah, our
Plus,
producers.
you'll get a personalized video thank you from me and George every single month for doing that. So, guys, please go and check that out. It is the best way to support us. If we've ever provided entertainment for you guys and you're appreciative of what we've done and you feel like you can spare a little bit of extra cash, that would genuinely mean the world to us if you could support us there.
Also, if you have made it to the end of this episode and you have been watching us and you've thought, George, that's a nice cardigan you're wearing. I wonder where you got that from. Well, that's from a brand that we can offer a 20% discount code from.
Yes.
If you check out the comment, this is from a brand called Aubin and Wills, who have kindly lent us a 20% discount code, which is in the comment of this video. Should you be interested?
Oh, it's literally just, it's not like a relationship where it's not like an affiliate link. It's just genuinely a gift from that brand to our listeners. If you want 20% off Aubin and Wills and you're a man.
Yes, it's menswear, I'm afraid.
Menswear.
Or if you know a man and you'd like to gift them.
Or if you like to wear men's clothes.
Yes. Yeah, we don't judge.
If you just buy men's clothing to collect, but obviously wear. Aubin, please go and check that out.
We'll be back next week with a review of The Bike Riders. Very excited for that. More metalheads, more things. You know, we've had Furiosa, we've had Cars.
I feel like Sons of Anarchy walked so this film could run. Assuming it's good.
Assuming it's good. We'll be there next week. Hope to see you there. Have a great week, guys. Bye.
Bye.